They said I was old at 39, then signed my termination like sending a reaction emoji. But the algorithm loves cracks, the places where pain tells better stories than polished smiles. While they scrambled to launch their explosive campaign, my video was already burning through feeds, torching the glossy veneer they'd spent months perfecting. They thought fresh meant disposable. They thought viral meant young. They thought wrong. The notification counter on my phone kept climbing. 10K, 50K, 100K views. Each ping was a small revenge, served ice-cold through fiber optic cables. My name is Harper Vance, and I knew something was wrong when they scheduled my quarterly review for 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. Not the usual Thursday afternoon slot. Not with the usual attendees. The Zoom invite popped up on my screen like a death warrant dressed in corporate blue. Required, Nova Ellis, Creative Director. Jet Ramos, Growth. Ari Lake, Customer Experience Manager. Caden Holt, HR. Optional, nobody. Location, virtual. Duration, 30 minutes. I adjusted my ring light, the one I'd bought with my own money because Salt and Signal's equipment stipend somehow never materialized, and clicked Join Meeting. Nova's face materialized first, all dewy skin and perfect contouring at 26. Behind her, the exposed brick wall of her Ravenbrook loft, probably daddy-funded. Harper, good morning. How are you feeling today? The way she said feeling made my stomach clench. HR speak. Death by euphemism. Jet logged on next, his gaming headset making him look like an air traffic controller. 24 years old and running growth like it was a TikTok challenge. Then Ari, 23, sipping what looked like matcha from a mason jar. Finally, Caden's corporate smile filled the fourth square. So, Nova began, and I watched her eyes flick to something off-screen, reading from a script. Harper, we wanted to touch base about your performance this quarter. Touch base. I'd written campaigns that generated six-figure revenues, and we were touching base. Your work has been adequate, Nova continued. But we're concerned about cultural alignment moving forward. A Slack notification bloomed in the corner of my screen. Team Salt and Signal. Design Sprint Channel. Someone had reacted to my latest brand strategy with a emoji. Dead leaf, subtle. Cultural alignment, I repeated, keeping my voice steady. Could you be more specific? Jet unmuted himself. It's about velocity. Harper, the pace. You're very thorough, but we need to be more agile, more responsive to the market moment. My campaigns have the highest conversion rates on the team. It's not about the numbers, Ari interrupted, which was rich coming from someone whose entire job was metrics. It's about the vibe, the energy. Your approach is very... She paused, searching for the word that wouldn't get them sued. Traditional. There it was. Traditional. Old school. Might as well say I was using a rotary phone to post on Instagram. Nova leaned forward, her concern as manufactured as her eyelash extensions. Harper, I'm going to be honest with you. You've become old school. The brand needs fresh perspectives, fresh voices. You understand? Old school at 39, in Ravenbrook, Colorado, where the median age was 45 and half the population still had AOL email addresses. Caden unmuted with practice timing. We're restructuring the creative team to better serve our clients' evolving needs. Your position is being eliminated, effective immediately. Another Slack notification. Your access to company drive will expire in 1 hour. I'll be sending you the separation agreement shortly. Caden continued. There's a modest severance package, contingent on signing our standard NDA and non-disparagement clause. I noticed the email with my performance improvement plan, supposedly sent 2 weeks ago, sitting in my inbox. Backdated. These kids might be fresh, but they weren't clever. Any questions? Nova asked, already moving her mouse toward the end meeting button. I had plenty. Like how a team of 20-somethings who couldn't spell strategy without autocorrect decided I was too old to understand digital marketing. Like how my ideas from last month's brainstorm were suddenly being pitched by Jet as his own. Like how fresh had become code for will work for kombucha and exposure. Instead, I said, no questions, I'll clean out my desk. Oh, no need, Nova chirped. Everything's remote, remember? Just return the laptop via the prepaid FedEx label we're sending. The meeting ended. 4 squares collapsed into black. I sat in my home office, really just a corner of my 1-bedroom in Marigold Heights, and listened to the early November snow hit the window. My phone buzzed with the HR email. The laptop screen flickered with tabs I'd soon lose access to. 3 years of campaigns, strategies, wins they'd claim as their own. I had 58 minutes. I started downloading everything I was legally entitled to. My personal notes, public-facing campaign materials, screenshots of Slack conversations where my ideas were praised before they became someone else's. The style guide I'd written that Nova now claimed she'd refreshed. Outside, Ravenbrook's first snow of the season was falling, soft and relentless, covering everything in white. Cobra insurance forms don't care about your dignity. They sprawl across my kitchen table like autopsy reports. $147 a month to keep the health coverage I'd need if this stress gave me the heart attack it was threatening. The apartment in Marigold Heights took $2,200. My savings account showed $8,743, enough for maybe 3 months if I ate ramen and canceled Netflix. I called my mother in Hollow Bend, 2 hours south, where the mountains gave way to plains and people still thought Facebook was cutting-edge technology. They can't just fire you for being older, she said, voice crackling through her ancient landline. That's illegal. They didn't fire me for being older, Mom. They eliminated my position due to restructuring. Same difference. Maybe. But proving it would cost more than I had, and they knew it. The job listings blurred together on my laptop screen. Digital marketing specialist, must be digital native. Translation, born with an iPhone in hand. Brand strategist, seeking fresh graduate or 1-2 years experience. Translation, will work for practically nothing. Creative director, must understand Gen Z culture intimately. Translation, be Gen Z. One posting actually said, vibe curator. I closed my laptop. The grocery store at Marigold Shopping Center had the kind of lighting that made everyone look sick. I stood in aisle 7, comparing store brand pasta to name brand, a 39-cent difference that suddenly mattered. My cart held the arithmetic of unemployment, protein bars on sale, generic coffee, the cheapest toilet paper that wouldn't fall apart. Harper? I turned. Dylan Rhodes stood there holding a 6-pack of craft beer and frozen pizzas, looking exactly like what he was, a 42-year-old bar musician who'd never left Ravenbrook. My ex-husband, though that title felt too formal for what we'd been, too permanent for what we'd become. Hey, I said, conscious of my unwashed hair, my ratty college sweatshirt. Heard about Salt and Signal. Small town, news traveled. Those kids don't know what they lost. Those kids are running the world now. He shifted the beer to his other hand. You okay? I mean, financially? The concern in his voice almost broke me. We'd been divorced 3 years, separated by nothing more dramatic than different definitions of ambition. But he still cared in that careful way exes do when they've managed to stay human to each other. I'm fine, I lied. The Velvet Room needs someone for social media, he offered. I know it's not what you're used to. Thanks, I'll think about it. We both knew I wouldn't. The Velvet Room, where Dylan played Thursday nights to tourists and locals pretending Ravenbrook had culture, wasn't going to save me. That night, I sat with a leather notebook I'd bought during better times, when journaling seemed like self-care instead of desperation. On the cover, embossed in gold, things they don't know about me. I'd meant it to be inspirational. Now it felt like evidence. I wrote, they don't know I helped launch 3 Fortune 500 rebrands before I turned 30. They don't know I can code in HTML and CSS. Learned it in 1999 when that actually meant something. They don't know their beloved algorithm isn't a god, it's just math, and I'm good at math. They don't know I kept every email, every Slack message, Every piece of evidence that might matter. They don't know I know how to tell stories. The pen felt heavy. Outside, snow continued to fall on Ravenbrook, covering the struggling downtown, the empty storefronts, the coffee shops where everyone was writing a screenplay or launching a startup that would definitely change the world. My phone buzzed. A LinkedIn notification. Nova Ellis viewed your profile. Checking up on me. Making sure I was being a good little terminated employee. Updating my status to seeking new opportunities and grateful for the learning experience. I opened a new browser tab. Not LinkedIn, not job sites, YouTube. The upload button sat there, patient and democratic. The algorithm didn't care how old I was. It only cared if people would watch. I stared at that button for a long time, then closed the laptop and went to bed. But I didn't sleep. I lay there in my Marigold Heights apartment, listening to the couple upstairs argue about money, thinking about fresh faces and old schools, about velocity and vibes, thinking about stories and who gets to tell them. Marisol Green's office occupied the second floor of a converted Victorian on Elm Street, sandwiched between a CBD wellness shop and a vintage clothing store that sold $200 flannels to tourists. She didn't look like a labor lawyer. Purple streak in her black hair, vintage band t-shirt under her blazer, 38 years old and unapologetic about it. So they actually said old school in the termination meeting? She leaned back in her chair, taking notes on an iPad covered in punk rock stickers. Nova Ellis, creative director, age 26. Direct quote. Recorded? Colorado's a one-party consent state. I had my phone recording in my pocket. Marisol smiled. Smart. But here's the thing. Proving age discrimination is like nailing Jell-O to a wall. They'll say it was about performance, culture fit, restructuring, anything but age. I know. And even if we could prove it, litigation takes years. Years you don't have, financially speaking. I know that too. She studied me. But you're not here for a lawsuit, are you? I need to understand the boundaries. What I can say, what I can share, what's legally mine to use. You're planning something. I'm planning to tell my story, but I need to know how to tell it without violating any NDAs or confidentiality agreements. Marisol pulled up documents on her screen. Send me everything you signed, but generally, your personal experiences are yours. Public information is fair game. Anything in the public domain, job postings, public presentations, published materials, that's all usable. That afternoon, I met Layla Finch at Copper Cow Coffee, the only place in Ravenbrook that didn't play either country music or lo-fi hip-hop. 22, film school dropout. Freelance video editor who'd been contracting with Salt and Signal until they decided she wasn't on brand enough. They told me my aesthetic was too millennial, she said, stirring oat milk into her cortado. I'm literally Gen Z. I was born in 2003. What was really going on? I questioned Nova's creative direction on the Meridian campaign, suggested the color palette was giving 2016 Instagram. She didn't like being edited by a contractor. Layla pulled out her phone, showed me her portfolio. Clean cuts, smart transitions, actual storytelling instead of just throwing trending audio over random clips. I heard about your termination, she said. The whole creative community knows. Nova's been bragging about refreshing the team energy. The creative community? There's a Discord, about 200 of us, all freelancers and contractors in Ravenbrook. We share rate cards, warn each other about bad clients. She paused. Salt and Signal comes up a lot. What are they saying? That they burn through talent. That they promise equity that never materializes. That they talk about diversity but their leadership is all white kids from money. She pulled up her laptop. Look at this. It was a cached page from Evermere Tech Commons, the co-working space that hosted startup events. Salt and Signal's public pitch deck from their Series A round 6 months ago. Slide 23, the Freshness Index. They actually quantified it, Layla said. Average team age correlates with innovation metrics. They were bragging about having the youngest creative team in Colorado. This was public, presented to 40 investors at the quarterly pitch event. It's archived on 3 different startup websites. I screenshot everything. I want to help, Layla said suddenly. What they're doing, it's not just about age, it's about control, about making everyone disposable so nobody questions anything. I can't pay much. I don't care about the money, I care about the story. That evening, I received a DM on Instagram from Parker Dean, who'd left Salt and Signal 3 months ago. 27. He'd been their senior strategist before jumping to a remote position with a company in Portland. Heard you're investigating S&S. Check the Wayback Machine for their old careers page. Compare it to now. You'll see the pattern. I did. 2021. Seeking experienced professionals. 2022. Looking for diverse perspectives across all age ranges. 2023. Fresh grads encouraged to apply. 2024. Digital natives only. The evolution was clear. The discrimination was systemic. I opened my leather notebook again, wrote a new entry. Things they don't know about me. I know how to research. I know how to build a narrative. I know that the algorithm isn't biased against age, it's biased against boring. And revenge, served with receipts, is never boring. My phone buzzed. A text from Dylan. Saw Nova at Whole Foods. She was buying $300 of supplies for a team-building vision board session. Just thought you should know your replacement is arts and crafts. I laughed, first time in a week. Then I opened a new document and typed, Too Old to Trend, a series. The whiteboard I'd rescued from a Marigold Heights garage sale dominated my living room wall. Red arrows, blue timestamps, black circles around key dates. It looked like a conspiracy theorist's fever dream, but it was actually much simpler, a content calendar for corporate destruction. Layla sat cross-legged on my floor, laptop balanced on her knees, while Caleb Monroe, 35, freelance tech journalist, beard that screamed, I've covered 3 startup implosions, occupied my only decent chair. SparkPath 3.0 launches, December 15th, I said, tapping the date circled in red. Salt and Signal's biggest client, biggest campaign of the year. They're doing a live unveiling at the Port Hawksley Convention Center. That's in 3 weeks, Caleb said. 3 weeks to build momentum. 3 weeks to own the conversation before they even start it. Layla pulled up Salt and Signal's social feeds. They're already seeding content, behind-the-scenes posts, team culture videos. Look at the comments, I interrupted. She scrolled. Most were generic praise, clearly from bots or staff accounts. But buried deeper, why is everyone on this team 22? And weird how your diverse team all looks like they shop at the same stores. People are already noticing, Caleb said. They just need someone to connect the dots. I turned to the whiteboard. Here's the strategy. We don't attack them directly, that's just bitter ex-employee noise. We tell a bigger story. The systematic age discrimination in tech and creative industries, using data, experiments, and yes, my experience as one case study among many. The hook? Layla asked. Fresh Face Friday, I said. Every tech company does it, featuring their youngest employees, their digital natives, their future leaders. We're going to flip it. I pulled out my phone, showed them the test accounts I'd created. 2 identical profiles, same content, same posting times. One mentions being 42 in the bio, has pictures suggesting middle age. The other says 24, uses Gen Z language patterns. Guess which one the algorithm loves? That's anecdotal, Caleb said, which is why we scale it. I moved to the next section of the whiteboard. I've connected with 14 people, ages 30 to 49. All recently terminated or pushed out of creative positions, each willing to run the same experiment. We post identical content across age-coded accounts, measure reach, engagement, algorithmic distribution. Data-driven discrimination expose. Caleb nodded. I can work with that, but you need more than numbers. We have more. Layla pulled up her editing timeline. Interviews with 6 anonymous sources from inside various agencies, all describing the same pattern, the the freshness washing of their companies. Freshness washing. Caleb was already typing notes. Like greenwashing, but for age, I explained. Companies publicly commit to diversity and inclusion while systematically purging anyone over 35 from creative roles. They hide it behind culture fit, innovation metrics, digital native requirements, and salt and signal. I smiled. They're the perfect case study. Young founders, venture-backed, constantly posting about their innovative culture, and they literally created a freshness index to pitch investors. When do we drop the first video? Layla asked. December 1st, 2 weeks before their launch. Enough time to build momentum, not enough for them to pivot their campaign. Caleb leaned forward. You know they'll come after you legally. Let them. Marisol's reviewed everything. We're using public information, documented experiences, and aggregated data. No trade secrets, no proprietary information, no violations of any NDA. They'll say you're bitter, Layla warned. Of course I'm bitter. I'm also right, and I'm not alone. I pointed to the board where I'd mapped out our allies, the Discord community, former employees, even some current staff who'd reached out anonymously. This isn't about Harper Vance getting fired. This is about an entire generation being told they're obsolete at 40. My phone buzzed. Another DM, this time from someone called Techie Truth 2024. Check Glass House reviews for S&S. Sort by recent. The kids are getting restless. I pulled up the employer review site. 3 new reviews in the past week, all from current employees. Toxic positivity masks ageism. One read, if you're over 30, don't bother applying, said another. The timing's perfect, I said. They're vulnerable. The SparkPath launch is their make-or-break moment for Series B funding. And you want to break it, Caleb said. I want to tell the truth. If that breaks them, I shrugged. Maybe they should build better foundations. Layla was already sketching video thumbnails. We need a visual identity. Professional but not corporate, authentic but not amateur. No fancy graphics, I said. Just good lighting, clean audio, and brutal honesty. Let them have the aesthetic. We'll take the algorithm. The plan was simple, really. They'd counted on my silence, bought with severance and shame. They'd assumed I'd fade away, update my LinkedIn, maybe write a bitter Medium post no one would read. They didn't know I'd spent 3 years studying their precious algorithm. They didn't know I understood that controversy plus authenticity equals reach. They didn't know that every time they posted about their fresh team culture, they were adding fuel to my fire. Most importantly, they didn't know that December 15th, while they were setting up their convention booth and preparing their keynote, I'd already be trending. One more thing, I said, adding a final note to the board. We're calling the main video, Gen Z Fired Me for Being Old. My comeback went viral before they did. That's a mouthful, Caleb said. It's a headline, I corrected, and headlines are my specialty. The ring light reflected in my laptop screen like a budget halo. My apartment's background, carefully curated with books and a single plant that wasn't dead yet, looked professional enough. The coffee mug on my desk had gone cold. 3 takes ago. Rolling, Layla said from behind her camera, a DSLR she'd bought back when she thought film school mattered. I looked directly into the lens. No script. Scripts were for people who didn't believe their own story. I was called old school at 9:03 a.m. on a Tuesday. By 9:17, I was downloading my life's work before they revoked my access. My name is Harper Vance, I'm 39, and I was fired for aging out of relevance. But here's the thing about being dismissed by an algorithm. Algorithms don't actually care how old you are. They care about engagement. So let's engage. Cut. Perfect, Layla said. 1 take, no edits needed. We uploaded at 7 p.m. on December 1st. Prime time for the algorithm. When people were scrolling after dinner, looking for something more substantial than dance videos. Within an hour, 500 views, 47 comments, 23 shares. Within 3 hours, 5,000 views, 312 comments, 156 shares. The comment section became a battlefield, some 20-something with a blue check. Classic millennial blaming Gen Z for their lack of adaptability. Response from accountant at 44. I adapted to 5 different software systems in 2 years. They fired me anyway. Said I didn't vibe with the team culture. Another from Design Mom 38. Same thing happened to me. They hired my replacement before they even let me go. She was 23 and willing to work for half my salary. But also, maybe you just weren't good enough. And bitter much? And okay, boomer. Which was particularly amusing since I was definitively not a boomer, but generational accuracy wasn't the point for trolls. My phone buzzed. Text from Nova. Really? This is how you want to play it? I didn't respond, but I did screenshot it. Everything was evidence now. By morning, Salt and Signal had posted a response on their company blog, addressing recent misunderstandings. We were saddened to see a former team member mischaracterize our inclusive culture. Salt and Signal celebrates diversity in all forms, including age. Our recent restructuring was purely strategic, aimed at better serving our clients' evolving needs. We wish Harper the best in her future endeavors and hope she finds an environment better suited to her working style. Corporate passive aggression at its finest. Working style was the new culture fit, which was the new not quite right for us, which was the old you're old. I posted video 2 that afternoon, this time with data. Let's talk about working styles. I began, pulling up the spreadsheet on screen. 14 professionals, ages 30 to 49, ran an experiment. We created parallel social media accounts. Identical content, different age signaling. The young accounts averaged 3.4 times more algorithmic reach. Same content, same quality, different numbers in the bio. I showed the graphs Layla had designed. Clean, undeniable, damning. But maybe that's just the algorithm, right? Let's look at job applications. Screenshot after screenshot of job postings. Digital native, fresh perspective, recent graduate preferred, energetic team, fast-paced environment, young and hungry. These aren't dog whistles, I said to the camera. They're air horns. The video hit 50K views in 6 hours. Caleb texted, 3 outlets want to interview you. TechCrunch, The Information, and weirdly, NPR. Not yet, I replied. Let it build. Parker Dean, the former Salt and Signal employee, sent me more screenshots. Internal Slack messages where Nova discussed age-proofing the team, where Jet suggested they needed fresher energy in client meetings, where Ari literally used the phrase, okay boomer, about a client who questioned their TikTok strategy. But the real gift came from an unexpected source. Someone named Restless Raven, 2024, DM'd me a video file. It was phone footage from Salt and Signal's Halloween party. Shaky, vertical, clearly filmed after several drinks. But the audio was clear. Nova's voice. I mean, Harper's sweet, but she's like my mom's age. How is she supposed to understand what Gen Z wants? Jet. The freshness index worked, though. Investors loved that shit. Nova. Right? Who knew ageism could be a selling point if you called it innovation? They all laughed. I sat with that video for an hour, deciding. It was legal to use, filmed at a public event. No expectation of privacy in Colorado for public gatherings. But it would go nuclear. Layla watched it over my shoulder. This changes everything. From passive discrimination to active conspiracy, I said. When do we release it? Not yet. Let them think the blog post handled it. Let them get comfortable. My subscriber count had jumped to 15K. The Discord community Layla mentioned had shared my videos across every platform. Freshness washing was trending locally. Dylan texted, saw Nova panic buying wine at Whole Foods. You're in her head. Good. Let her feel what it was like to check your phone obsessively, wondering when the next blow would land. Let her understand what disruption actually felt like when you were on the receiving end. I posted a simple tweet that night. Video 3 drops tomorrow, this time with receipts. Salt and Signal's social media manager, probably some unpaid intern, immediately subtweeted, "Some people can't handle moving on professionally." Sad? I smiled. They had no idea what was coming. They thought this was about me, about my feelings, about one terminated employee with a grudge. They didn't understand it was about all of us. Every 35-year-old told they were too experienced, too expensive. Every 40-year-old asked if they could keep up. Every 45-year-old ghosted after the interviewer saw them on video. The revolution wouldn't be young. It would be experienced, strategic, and patient, and it would go viral before they even knew what hit them. The cease and desist letter arrived via email at 6:47 a.m. Subject line: Urgent, legal notice, confidential. Marisol called me before I'd finished reading it. They're rattled. This is panic disguised as legal letterhead. They're claiming I violated the NDA. They're claiming a lot of things, none of which will hold up. You've used public information and personal experience. The Halloween party video was filmed at a public event. The Slack screenshots came from current employees who voluntarily shared them. So we proceed? We proceed. But Harper? Her voice carried warning. They're going to get nastier. This letter is just the opening move. She was right. By noon, Salt and Signal had mobilized their flying monkeys. Anonymous accounts started flooding my comments. Harper was always difficult to work with. She refused to adapt to new technologies. Classic case of entitlement. The IP addresses were sloppy, though. Layla traced 3 back to Salt and Signal's office network. They're literally doing this from company computers, she laughed. During work hours, we added it to the evidence folder. Video 3 went live at 2 p.m. The freshness index, when young becomes currency. This time, I had backup. 3 silhouetted figures joined me on a split screen. Voices modified, but stories intact. They told me 35 was past prime for creative work, said Anonymous A, a former art director from Denver. I trained my replacement, said Anonymous B. She was 23 and called me work mom while learning everything I knew. They offered me a consultant role. Anonymous C added, half the pay, no benefits, same work, said it was more flexible for someone my age. I was 41. Then I played the Halloween party audio. Nova's voice filled the frame. Who knew ageism could be a selling point if you called it innovation? The video included the data visualization Layla had created, a timeline showing how Salt and Signal's average employee age had dropped from 32 to 24 in 18 months. How their job postings had evolved from experienced professionals to digital natives only. How their client presentations literally scored agencies based on teen youth. Parker Dean had given us the final piece, an internal memo about age-proofing client pitches. Remove any team members over 35 from visible roles. It read, focus on fresh perspectives and next-gen thinking. The subscriber count hit 45K. Age-proofing started trending. Salt and Signal's response came swift and corporate. Another blog post, standing against defamation. But their real response was dirtier. My LinkedIn started showing strange activity. Someone was screenshotting old posts, taking them out of context. A joke I'd made about millennials and technology became, Harper admits she can't keep up. A post about work-life balance became, Harper was never committed to the role. They're building a counter-narrative, Caleb observed, watching the character assassination unfold in real time. Let them, I said. Every move they make proves the point. Then came the planted story. Some tech blog nobody read ran a piece. Former employees' vendetta against innovative startup raises questions. The byline was anonymous. The talking points were straight from Salt and Signal's PR playbook, but for every hit piece, 5 organic supporters emerged. The Discord community had grown to over 500 members. People were sharing their own stories, their own evidence, their own recordings of age discrimination disguised as innovation. A TikToker with 200K followers made a video essay about the freshness industrial complex. A LinkedIn influencer wrote about the hidden cost of youth washing. The story was bigger than me now, bigger than Salt and Signal. Nova tried calling me directly. I let it go to voicemail. Harper, this is getting out of hand. You're hurting people who had nothing to do with your termination. The team is suffering. Is that what you want? Call me back. Let's talk about this like adults. Like adults. The irony was delicious. Layla had been monitoring Salt and Signal's social metrics. Their engagement is tanking, comments are 90% negative, they're deleting and blocking, but it's like trying to bail out the Titanic with a coffee cup. The SparkPath 3.0 campaign was in 10 days. Their biggest client, their Series B showcase, their make-or-break moment. I posted a teaser. Video 4 coming December 12th. The full story, the full receipts, the full truth about how innovation became discrimination. Caden from HR sent another email, this time offering a mediation session and a potential resolution package. Translation, they wanted to buy my silence. Marisol reviewed it. They're offering $50,000 and a neutral reference if you delete everything and sign a more comprehensive NDA. No. That's 3 months of Cobra. Harper, your rent for a year. It's also complicity. How many other people are they going to do this to if I take the money and shut up? She smiled. Just making sure you understood the stakes. Turn them down. Make them sweat. That night, I got a DM from someone inside SparkPath. Watching your videos, reviewing our agency partnership, thank you for the courage. The walls were closing in on Salt and Signal. They'd thought they were untouchable, wrapped in the armor of youth and venture capital and disruption rhetoric. They'd forgotten that experience meant something, that knowing how to tell a story, how to build a narrative, how to time a reveal. These weren't skills you could download from an app. I opened my leather notebook, wrote a new entry. Things they don't know about me. I'm not trying to destroy them. They're destroying themselves. I'm just documenting it. In real time. With receipts. My phone buzzed. Caleb. NPR wants you for All Things Considered, Monday the 14th, day before the SparkPath launch. Perfect timing. The national stage, right before their biggest moment. I texted back, confirm it. The rhythm was building. Every move they made, I had a counter. Every legal threat, I had documentation. Every smear campaign, I had truth. December 15th was coming. They'd be at Port Hawksley, all fresh faces and innovation speak, trying to sell the future. But the future had already seen their past. And it was trending. 7:45 a.m., December 15th. Port Hawksley Convention Center was already buzzing with setup crews. Salt and Signal's booth dominated the main floor, all glass and LED screens, promising the future of marketing. I sat in my kitchen in Marigold Heights, laptop open, finger hovering over the publish button. Layla was on FaceTime from her apartment. All social channels ready. The videos loaded on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. One click publishes everywhere. Caleb was texting updates from the convention floor. Nova's here in a $3,000 outfit. They've got investors walking through. SparkPath CEO just arrived. The main video was our masterpiece. Gen Z fired me for being old. My comeback went viral before they did. 15 minutes of carefully edited truth. It opened with my termination meeting, the actual audio recording, Nova's voice. You've become old school. Then the data. 14 controlled experiments. 500 plus survey responses from the Discord community. Employment statistics showing the tech industry's age cliff at 35. The Halloween party video played in full. Nova's laugh as she said, "Who knew ageism could be a selling point?" Then came the leaked internal memo Parker had provided, the smoking gun. Subject, Project Freshface, Restructuring for Innovation. It detailed the systematic plan to reduce average team age, targeting anyone over 35 for redundancy while hiring fresh talent at 60% of the salary cost. My name was on a list titled Phase 1 Eliminations. But the real blow was the interview clips. Not anonymous anymore. 12 former Salt and Signal employees had agreed to go on record, faces visible, names attached. They called it culture fit, but it was just age, said Marcus Thompson, 41, former head of strategy. I trained 3 replacements in 2 years, each younger and cheaper. Added Patricia Nguyen, 38, former design lead. The video ended with me looking directly into camera. Innovation isn't about age, it's about ideas. And the idea that youth equals innovation? That's not disruption, that's discrimination. 7:59 a.m. My phone showed texts from everyone. Mom, Dylan, Marisol. All watching, all waiting. 80s a.m. Click. The publish button felt like pulling a trigger. 8:03 a.m. First 100 views. 8:15 a.m. First 1,000. The algorithm loved controversy served fresh with morning coffee. 8:47 a.m. Caleb's text. Nova just checked her phone during setup. Her face went white. She's running to the bathroom. 9 a.m. Fresh Face Gate was trending. The SparkPath 3.0 hashtag they'd been pumping for weeks was getting hijacked. Every post about their launch had comments linking to my video. 9:23 a.m. The NPR interview from yesterday went live online, adding fuel. This isn't about revenge, I'd told them. It's about accountability in an industry that worships youth while exploiting experience. 9:45 a.m. SparkPath social media posted, reviewing concerning allegations about our agency partner. Stand by for updates. 10:12 a.m. The first domino fell. SparkPath announced a postponement of the launch event, pending review of partnership alignments. 10:30 a.m. Local news picked it up, then national. The video hit 100K views. 10:47 a.m. An all-hands email from Salt and Signal leaked immediately. CEO Rowan Vale. We're facing coordinated attacks on our character. Stay strong, don't engage. But they were already engaging, or trying to. Nova went live on Instagram, tears in her designer mascara, claiming she was being bullied by bitter ex-employees. The comments destroyed her. Bullying is discriminating against people for their age. Those tears won't wash away the receipts. Maybe try being innovative instead of discriminatory. 11:15 a.m. The video crossed 250K views. LinkedIn was on fire. Every HR professional, employment lawyer, and business ethics account was weighing in. 11:30 a.m. The nuclear option arrived. Parker forwarded me an email chain from 6 months ago. The entire leadership team discussing the age problem and how to solve it quietly. Rowan Vale himself had written, Priority 1 is freshening our image. Anyone over 35 needs to go. But make it about performance, not age. I posted it as a Twitter thread, no commentary needed. 11:45 a.m. SparkPath officially terminated their contract with Salt and Signal. Public statement. We cannot partner with organizations whose values don't align with our commitment to diversity and inclusion across all demographics. 11:52 a.m. 3 more clients announced they were reviewing their relationships with Salt and Signal. 12:05 p.m. The surrender came via Marisol. They want to settle. Now. Today. Their lawyer is offering $200,000, full benefits extension, and a public apology. Tell them I want the apology to acknowledge systemic age discrimination. I want them to commit to an age-inclusive hiring audit, and I want it all public. That's corporate suicide for them. That's accountability. The convention floor was chaos. Caleb sent video, Salt and Signal's booth being quietly dismantled while Nova sat on a shipping crate, head in hands. Jet was rage typing on his phone. Ari had disappeared entirely. 12:30 p.m. Rowan Vale posted Salt and Signal's official statement. We apologize unconditionally to Harper Vance and all employees affected by our discriminatory practices. We acknowledge systemic age discrimination in our hiring and retention policies. Effective immediately. We're implementing a third-party diversity audit with public reporting. We're also establishing a $500,000 fund for age discrimination awareness in the tech industry. The video hit 1 million views. I sat in my kitchen, watching the numbers climb. My phone vibrated constantly. Job offers, interview requests, collaboration proposals. But I wasn't looking at those. I was reading the comments. Hundreds of stories from people who'd been pushed out, overlooked, discriminated against for the crime of aging in tech. Layla texted, "You did it. You actually did it." Maybe. But looking at Salt and Signal's empty convention booth on Caleb's livestream, watching their fresh-faced team scramble to save a company built on discrimination, I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired and strangely empty. The algorithm had chosen its winner. The story had gone viral. The comeback was complete. But I was still 39, still unemployed, still sitting in my Marigold Heights apartment with Cobra insurance forms and a laptop full of evidence that an entire industry had a problem it didn't want to solve. The notifications kept coming. The counter kept climbing. Revenge was trending. But I just wanted a job where being good at it mattered more than being young. The mediation happened in a glass tower in downtown Denver, the kind of place where even the air felt expensive. Rowan Vale looked smaller in person, his 28-year-old face aged 10 years in the past week. Nova wasn't there. She'd resigned that morning, according to Marisol. Jet and Ari had been restructured out. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. 200,000, Rowan's lawyer said. Full benefits for a year. The public apology stands. The diversity audit will happen. And the fund? I asked. 500,000 for age discrimination awareness, administered by a third party. I signed. They signed. We shook hands like civilized people who hadn't just fought a war in public. Rowan lingered as his lawyers packed up. You destroyed everything we built. No, I said. You built it on discrimination. I just showed everyone the foundation. He left without another word. The Uber ride back to Ravenbrook took 2 hours. I watched the mountains pass, my phone still buzzing with notifications I'd stopped checking. 3 million views now. 30 interview requests. 50 job offers. My apartment felt different when I walked in. Same cheap furniture, same view of the parking lot, same neighbors' music thumping through the walls. But the war room was over. I started taking down the whiteboard, erasing the red arrows and timestamps. Layla came by to collect her equipment. So what now? You could write your own ticket. Any company would hire you just for the publicity. Maybe, I said. Or maybe they'd hire me to prove they're not ageist, then quietly manage me out when the attention dies down. That's cynical. That's experienced. The check would clear in 3 days, enough to breathe, to think, to figure out what came next without panic driving every decision. That evening, I sat with my leather notebook one last time. The pages were full now. Evidence, plans, small revenges, and large truths. I found the line I'd written weeks ago. The algorithm is a character, not a god. I'd been right. The algorithm had played its part perfectly. A neutral force that amplified truth as efficiently as it spread lies. It didn't care about age or justice or revenge. It only cared about engagement, and we'd given it plenty. The public apology went live at 6 p.m. Salt and Signal's social media posted it across every platform. The comments were brutal but satisfied. Justice, or at least the internet's version of it. Parker Dean texted, "They're done." Board called an emergency meeting. Rowan's out by Monday. Another domino. Another young face learning that sometimes experience matters more than freshness. Dylan called. Saw the news. You won. Did I? You got paid. You got an apology. You burned them to the ground. What else is winning? Maybe he was right. But sitting in my apartment, scrolling through job listings that still asked for digital natives and fresh perspectives, I wondered if anything had really changed. My mom called next. "I'm proud of you," she said. "Your father would have been too. Standing up to bullies, no matter their age." That helped. A little. The final notification I checked was an email from someone named Rebecca Martinez, 51, CMO of a company called Bridgewater Analytics. Ms. Vance, I've been following your story. We're not looking for fresh faces or digital natives. We're looking for someone who understands that good ideas don't have an expiration date. The position is Senior VP of Brand Strategy. The interview would be a formality. We know what you can do. I read it twice, then I closed my laptop and walked to the window. Outside, Ravenbrook was settling into evening. Snow falling again, covering the old downtown, the struggling shops, the convention center where Salt and Signal's booth had been dismantled in disgrace. It would all look clean and new in the morning, the way snow makes everything look fresh. But underneath, it would still be the same town, the same structures, the same biases covered in white. I picked up my notebook one last time and wrote, "Things they don't know about me. I'm not done. This was just the first story." Then I closed it and set it on the shelf. The algorithm had made me famous for 15 minutes. The revenge had been served, viral and cold. Salt and Signal was dead, Nova was gone. And I had a check that would buy me time to figure out what came next. I opened Rebecca Martinez's email again and started typing my response. Because the best revenge isn't destroying those who wronged you. It's succeeding despite them. It's proving that experience, wisdom, and the ability to tell a true story will always matter more than being young and willing to work for kombucha. The notifications finally stopped. The apartment was quiet except for the furnace kicking on and the muffled sound of my neighbor's TV. I hit send on the email and went to make dinner. The war was over. The real work could begin. Thank you for listening to this story. If you're still here, you've just witnessed what happens when experience meets injustice in the digital age. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. Whether you're 23 or 53, we all have stories about workplace discrimination that deserves to be heard. Subscribe to the channel if this resonated with you, and share your own thoughts about ageism, revenge, or just the savage reality of modern work. Sometimes the best stories are the ones we live through, document, and share. Until next time, keep fighting the good fight at any age.